In that time, uh, if this happens like they're saying it's going to happen, which they're saying they're doing because it's going to minimize disruptions. It's actually going to increase disruptions because cash flow will be so off. People are going to have to lay off employees. Licensees are going to have to lay off employees. Some of them will likely have to shut their doors, almost guaranteed. I talked to one manufacturer. They'll lose over $100,000 in business in 1 week, and they'll have to lay off 11 employees because of cash flow. Um, the margins on our products are not very high. They're paper thin, and when you're operating a low margin business like that, you make up for it in volume, which means more sales. And we just if we're not able to sell, we can't do that. So we're going to see I think I hate to say this, but I think we're going to see a chain reaction of events here where those who've been on the edge or on the line for a while are really not going to make it through this.
Um, so yeah, I'm just thinking from the states. If I'm a state agency or I'm the state any agency, uh, you know this probably just as well as anybody having been on that other side. There has to be a certain element from them that they're for whatever reason they feel stuck in their thing. Like, that I guess what I'm getting at is that um it very well could be that the state is going essentially at the end of the day, they may not have a problem doing it, but they're just waiting for a judge to tell. You know what I mean? Like I don't know the right way to put it, but like you see this happen with state agencies all the time where they're going, hey, I mean, again, everyone can interpret the uh, how genuine she was being in this situation, but the current governor was, and her administration was fighting back on the gross receipts tax stuff for medical cannabis for years, right? You had a couple of producers saying this is the same, and I don't want to get too deep into the specifics, but essentially because it was technically not a prescription and a recommendation from a doctor, because that was the argument was that cannabis should be treated like prescription medication and be gross receipts tax exempt, essentially. I'm probably using the wrong language, but not charge gross receipts. Um, and the state was saying, no, well, it's you can't because it's actually not a prescription. And really, the reason it was not a prescription was because they couldn't call it a prescription because it was still federally illegal, right? It was like that was the way to protect doctors early on. Is like we can't have doctors going to jail for prescribing something that's anyway.
Yeah.
That's all background, but I remember I interviewed the governor directly over this because her administration fought it, fought it, fought it. It was like somewhere between the Court of Appeals and the state Supreme Court. I don't know. I think it sort of stalled out because legalization was sort of happening. Legalization happened, and they baked into the Cannabis Regulation Act that medical is exempt, right? So I interviewed the governor right after legalization, full rec or adult use, whatever you want to call it, and I kind of asked her like, why challenge it this far? And her answer was a very again, I'll let everyone interpret their, how genuine she was being in this, but it's a classic, like, sort of legal answer. I'll say that, well,
Hmm.
we wanted the courts to weigh in on it, because I was in a polite way, but sort of pushing on this notion of you're talking about how great medical is for patients and it helps all these other people. Like, why would you then be stick so hard on this? And her answer is essentially is like, this is the way we read the law. We feel like we have to do this. We can't make this decision. We need a judge to make the decision for us. All that stuff. So again, full disclaimer that like everyone can interpret that how they want. I'm not here to editorialize whatever. That's my long rambling way of saying that I could see an argument from the state in this same point of saying, for whatever reason, our hands are tied and we have to do it this way. If a judge says stop, we will stop, right? But I don't know. I mean, that's a very generous interpretation of what's happening because for all we know, if a judge grants this emergency injunction, I mean, it's not guaranteed that the state's not going to push back again, and say,
No, no doubt. Well, I know their reason, and what they're saying is the contract with BioTrack expires September 16th, I think it is. But we've found a document that shows that the contract is available until September of 2027, not 2026, and it's just not funded through this September.
I mean, it seems like
Um,
any contract, especially because they've been renewing it with BioTrack over and over again, and not even renewing it, just extending the contract, right?
yeah,
There's not even a
yeah,
formal renewal process. It's just like, hey, handshake deal, can we just keep this going? So I would be completely surprised if the contract didn't have something, no pun intended or pun fully intended, I guess, baked in, to say, in case of emergency, we get an extra year, you know.
sure, but not even that. But the state always has options to move money around into to different places. I mean, for crying out loud, the governor started a child care program without having any funding or authorization from the legislature. So, okay, you can do that, but you can't find a couple $100,000 to give to BioTrack while we're working on making sure a system is actually fully up and operational. Like, come on, guys. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like find the money and make it work. I'm really hoping that's what a judge says, because that's really what it'll end up boiling down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and again, my dumb non-financial brain is thinking there's definitely money there for it because it's part of the fiscal year. This year has been budgeted. I don't think the budget explicitly says we only have money budgeted for BioTrack until September, and then but like yeah, that money's going to somebody, like
Yeah, well, and
uh,
even if it is budgeted only till September,
yeah,
we've got record revenues coming
yeah,
into the state. Go to LFC. There's a process where they can go ask for more money if they need it. But also a couple $100,000 in most government
yeah,
agency
and
budget is rounding.
right. And then the other thing to remember about budgets is that they're not separate bank accounts. When you have all these like buckets of money,
Yep.
um, it's not it's frowned upon and not really supposed to be this way, but obviously we know it's happened before. We're going to take the money from this fund and we'll pay it back later, and we'll explain it to
Could
the
do that.
legislature. We'll explain it to the legislature when we ask for the more money for the next budget, why the money was off.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. There's ways to make it happen if you want to make it happen. I'll just put it that way.
well, and I mean, ultimately, like, I guess I might be a little bit surprised that they would challenge an emergency injunction. I think if a judge says you got to stop, you got to like, at that point they can appeal it, but like they can't stop the injunction. I don't. I guess they could. Who knows? Uh,
We'll see what happens. I'm optimistic that the court will rule in our favor, but you never know. I mean,
and real quick before I forget to break down, obviously neither of us are lawyers, but we do both know enough about sort of the process of this too. So that I think there's another question that comes up, maybe not explicitly, maybe sometimes, but like, why file this injunction, right? Like, why not just power through and try to um, negotiate and let them see their ways? But I think what maybe the folks that don't cover a lot of courts and lawsuits or that kind of thing forget that there is specifically a mechanism, this injunction, this emergency injunction, and you see it happen all the time. In a certain way, it's not, I don't think it was emergency injunction, but it was similar to like the child care thing you were talking about, right? Where um, I think I think it was unsuccessful. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I feel like somebody in that party in that lawsuit,
yeah,
Duke and his side said, hey, you got to stop funding this until we figure out whether this is legal or not.
yep,
Um, and there's this notion of irreparable harm, right? And that's the argument I think that your lawyer made is like if you go through with this, there will be harm to businesses that you cannot repair, right?
100%.
Um,
Yep,
if you pause it, there is no real damage to the state, right? Like that's sort of the argument there is like the state's going to be
yep,
fine if you pause rolling this out or change rolling this out or how like stop in your tracks. But if you don't stop in your tracks, there's a high probability that businesses will be hurt in a way that you cannot repair. I mean, not like stuff that money can't solve unless
Yeah,
you
exactly.
throw so much money at a business to like bring it back to life. But yeah, I think so. I think that's a maybe a possibly understood thing with some folks that like, yeah, it's not. It is an aggressive tactic to sue somebody anytime, but sometimes it is the process that you have to go through to make change.
We really don't want to be here. I mean,
Yeah.
this is costing businesses money to file this lawsuit that we'll never get back. And it could be just the start too.